Music producers, it's Curtis King at CurtisKingBeats.com, and I have a question, another question for you. Is it possible for a music producer to be seen as a sellout? Interesting. Let's talk about it. Music producers, we have heard the term sellout. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what generation you're from. I'm pretty sure in some shape or form, whether it's this new term, clout chasing, whatever the case may be, the same definition applies when it comes to the term sellout. Now, what is a sellout? I've defined a sellout in the past as somebody who abandons their morals. They abandon everything that they stand for. It's more than, for me, just the musical sound. It's just abandoning your character and who you are for hopefully fame or even the almighty dollar. But there's other ways to define it. We're gonna go to Urban Dictionary for this one since it is sort of a slang word. So the definition that they have up here is anyone who sacrifices artistic integrity in an effort to become more successful or popular, generally in music, someone who forgets their roots. Interesting. The second definition, a human being who abandons their convictions to impress people and or become more popular. So just as I said, the definition is pretty universal. Many of us have our definitions of when we see an artist that maybe comes up, especially with rappers, you see that more so, especially in the culture of hip hop, rappers are the ones that get this term all the time. You see it when it's a rapper that comes up and they're known for being sort of an independent or an underground artist, and they find their way and they start getting popularity, or they get signed to a record deal, and then all of a sudden their music just becomes something different. It's something entirely different. Oh, you acting entirely different. Shout out to HaHa Davis. Like, it becomes something that you don't recognize. They go from rapping over really like soul samples to all of a sudden rapping / singing over pop forward to the floor tempos. Oops, oops, oops. And all of a sudden they're getting bars off to that, and their fans are left scratching their head like, fam, what happened to you? What's going on? And it's a term that I think I personally was a little bit afraid of having to happen. To me, I never wanted to be anybody who came up in hip hop in my generation did not want to be seen as a sellout. Same way that I'm sure that the younger generation don't want to be seen as a clout chaser or somebody who is doing something, anything for a little bit of fame or whatever the case may be. And the funny thing about it is that you would see that word be associated with rappers, but you wouldn't really see that word being associated with producers. Why do you think that is? I started wondering about that this week as I was starting to read this book, and I was like, it brought up the term sellout again, and I was like, man, a lot of the content that I speak of is to music producers. Why is it that we've never heard of a music producer, or we've never at least accused a music producer of selling out? Because the rules still apply to that producer. If we go back to this definition of a human being that abandons their convictions to impress people and or become more popular, that can be a music producer. That could be a music producer who comes up making a certain sound, becomes popular off of that sound, and then that sound sort of dwindles in popularity, and then all of a sudden, matter of fact, I saw it in my generation where there was people who came up, they were known for making like super hip hop type beats and boom bap type of beats, and then all of a sudden the jerking era came. That came around and everybody started trying to make jerk beats, and it was just like, oh fam, oh don't go out like that, don't do that fam. But in that case, if the roles were switched and we switched those names, that person would be seen as a sellout. So after making a video a few days ago, the one that really resonated with a lot of you, and me asking a question, would you make the same music that you're making today if money wasn't a factor, if getting placements wasn't a factor? A few of you actually said no, you wouldn't. And I have to add myself to that because I started feeling like, you know what, I wouldn't be doing a lot of custom orders and things that I have done in the past had it not been for the money, or had it not been for just selling beats. And I have to say, in that definition, I would be called a sellout. Does it matter? Does any of this matter? No, it does not matter. It does not matter whatsoever. And here's the message, the true message. Now, obviously I brought you in with a little bit of clickbait, but the true message of today is this. There is so many terms, so many worries, so much extra baggage that we put upon ourselves, especially younger rappers and younger music producers. There's so much baggage that we put upon ourselves that it stifles our growth, and we end up battling things and end up defending ourselves to people who've already made up their mind that they don't like like you. They don't want to like you. You represent something that they can never be. They see in you a reflection of what they could have did because they saw you come up from nothing. They don't want to see that. Being around you makes them uncomfortable. And when they say really harsh things about you and they talk about your art and they tell you you're selling out, how dare you go and do something different? Here's the thing about selling out that's the biggest contradiction. Nobody knows what's going on through your mind. Nobody knows what you like. Nobody knows what makes you feel good. Nobody knows why your instinct said, you know what, I don't want to do a typical boom bap rhythm on this. I want to go forward to the floor. And matter of fact, I like synthesizers. I want to do this. You know why it sounds so personal? Because that was me at one time. People were calling me a sellout left and right when I started making original beats. They looked at me like, how dare you make original beats? Go back to sampling. And it's like, none of y'all gonna pay for when that publisher comes and sues me for using that sample without permission. Well, clear the sample. You clear the sample, mother. And that's my thing. Nobody knows what you have to do in order to be successful. It's your responsibility to be successful. You have a family, you have dreams, you have things that you have to do. It's nobody else's responsibility but yours to be successful. And if part of your success, and I know this is part of any success, means altering a few things that are left inside your comfortability, you gotta do it. Today, something really funny happened in that I was in traffic and it was like non-stop traffic. It's like that California traffic that you always hear about. I'm sitting in the traffic, my wife's in the car, my son's in the back, and we just going at a snail's pace. And what I noticed is that the lane that we were in was getting ready to go to the off-ramp to exit off the freeway. We didn't need to get off the off-ramp. We needed to stay on this freeway. But something that I said to my wife kind of sat in my head. And as I was sitting, I was like, oh, no, we're not going to get off on this exit. Somebody's going to be sleeping when I get into this lane. And sure enough, somebody was on their damn phone, sitting there, texting away, probably tweeting, probably nothing important at all, just passing time. And I swooped right in the lane and I took that position. And that is very symbolic of something that I'm getting ready to propose to all of the music producers that are listening and watching right now. This generation has a beautiful and rare opportunity. There are so many of your peers that cannot keep their faces out of their phones. There are so many people around you that can't focus for longer than 2 seconds on one thing. Literally, the people who will be running this world in the future, in the very near future, are going to be some of the people who can get above the fray, above the hoopla, above the hype, people who can simply follow directions. Those are the ones that are going to win. You wouldn't believe how many times I get questions that are like, if you ran one Google search, you would get your answer. I feel like sometimes I get questions from people that maybe just want to talk to me, and I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but I get questions sometimes from people who are like, yo, I need you to answer this right now. And I'm like, I need you to go to your phone and use Google right now. What is the issue? There's nothing different than what I'm going to tell you about that situation. There is no insider information about copywriting your music. There's no insider information about ASCAP and BMI. All that information is on their websites. Nah, Curtis, I need you to talk about it because you're gonna help me understand it. How do you think that I understood it? At some point in time, I had to zig when my peers were zagging. I had to find a way to break this information down, search the definitions of the definitions. I'm telling you, those of you that will win are the people who don't care about terms and don't care about labels, care about things like you're selling out. Can a music producer sell out? Of course, but who the cares? You got music to make. You got things that you got to do that have nothing to do with anybody else. Why? Because what they think about you is not your responsibility. What they think about you is their personal problem. You're going to see that a lot of the people that you were trying to impress, and maybe this is where the whole selling out to impress people are become popular. A lot of those people have already made their decision that they're going to stay at the position they're at. They're only going to fly so high. They've made that decision for their entire life. They're okay riding a mediocre train. Something else Grant Cardone said is that when you really hit it big, he is guaranteeing you, he's promising you that you're going to be judged by people who are the most mediocre. And mediocre as in people who are do-nothings, they're excuse makers, they're people who always find something wrong with a situation instead of trying to find a solution. They're people who have already solidified their position as of today. They're the people that will hold you down like a flotation device. If y'all were in the ocean, they're gonna hold you down down until they figure out what to do next. And while somebody else is out there swimming, you up here, oh, I think I got you, and then they eventually make you drown, and you seen Titanic. But that's not my point. My point is this, my friends. If you can simply focus in, if you can simply not care about all these terms that get tossed around, don't worry about somebody saying, oh, you're a clout chaser. All of that stuff does not matter, especially younger producers. Do not get caught up in that. Focus so much on the minor details. Like, for instance, people always ask me, they say, hey, should I copyright my beats before I start selling? And it's like, this might be irresponsible for me to say, and I'm gonna make sure that I say that this is not legal advice, but you don't even know what your beats are worth right now. You may very well be copywriting the trashiest of the trash of your catalog in the very beginning, and you are going to evolve into something else one day, and one day say, I copyrighted those for what? Didn't nobody even want those? So my point is this, while you focus so much on trying to make things perfect, it's making you look scared. You are scared. You're afraid to pull the trigger. Just go. Just go. Just do it. Just do it. The chances of your beats getting stolen and having to go to court. How many music producers have you met? Tell me, how many music producers you met had to go to court over somebody stealing their beats? How many music producers do you know? How many you saw got up in a suit and had they MPC or had they MIDI keyboard in their arm and had to go to court because somebody stole their beats and they had to show proof of copyright? Now, I'm not saying don't copyright your stuff. That's not what I'm saying. That's irresponsible. What I'm saying is you don't have the luxury to wait, and there is somebody else around you that is the same person that was sitting next to me in traffic today. When I got caught sleeping, I moved right into that lane and replaced it. Didn't even know what happened. I was already ahead of what's going on. And I'm not telling you to be capitalistic. I'm not telling you to be doggy dog. That's not what I'm telling you. What I'm saying is, if you can stay the course, if you can do small things like stay off your phone more than your peers around you, if you can so much as pick up a book every once in a while, if you can do something that your peers are not willing to do, guess what? You're gonna have the success that your peers could never have, because they're not willing to sacrifice those things. They're not willing to sacrifice the most important currency of all, time. They're here to waste it. So can a music producer be a sellout? It doesn't matter. You got work to do. Once again, this is Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com. Peace. Please subscribe to the channel below, Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com.